You're listening to the British Baseball Podcast. And joining me on today's episode of the British Baseball Podcast, I'm delighted to have alongside me the newest addition to the British Baseball Podcast. It's Marianna Casal. Marianna, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. Talk us through your journey through baseball. And, well, let's start off with a bit of non-baseball related talk to start with. Who is Marianna Casal?
Who am I guess everyone knows I have an older brother. He was kind of the one who was in baseball first. I was kind of just the sister watching. I have two very, very loving, supporting, and present parents. They're at every single game somehow. They're everything that my brother does and everything that I do. They somehow like split themselves into. They're really good. I have always been pretty talkative and loud and active. And in terms of baseball, and I'm a journalism student. That's probably important to say. I have my final year left for my bachelor's, which is just general journalism, and then I'm planning on doing a sport journalism master's straight after. Not completely sure where yet, but I definitely want to do that and then go into sport journalism, which will be fun. In terms of baseball, so I was kind of born into it. My dad was playing when I was really little, and he's Venezuelan, so he grew up with the sport, anyway. And then he helped open the Hearts Little League, and my brother played in that. So I was just there every weekend watching. I probably wasn't actually watching the baseball, but I really loved the atmosphere, and there were so many people around, and all the parents loved me. I was just a little girl getting all the attention, so that was pretty fun. I always wanted to help behind the concession stand, but they didn't really trust me. The moms didn't really trust me, so they got me to go games. So I would just like wear this hat and this apron, and I would just go around to all these hundreds of parents going, buy Krispy Kreme. And then there was a microphone all the time, and I would get the microphone and I would just start either singing or beatboxing or just saying, come get Krispy Kremes, It was fun. It was always really fun, but I never really saw it as something for girls. I kind of just saw it as, oh, this is my brother and dad's thing, and I'll just be the supportive sister and daughter and watch. And I had my own things going on anyway. I danced a lot, and I did performing arts. I was doing musicals and theatre and things like that. So that was my thing. And then I always, maybe on like home run derby days or just like fun days, I would join in, and my dad and brother would always make sure I was doing things right, like, oh, hit like this and throw like this. But when I was little, I didn't really like getting told what to do, particularly by my parents. So I didn't join in that much. It was kind of just like I would do it until it wasn't fun anymore. And then when I was maybe 13, I went on a tournament with my brother, and to watch him, and I started throwing with one of his teammates, and Laura Harai, you must know her, or maybe not, but she's big in baseball, and she's in America now playing softball. And she said to me, why aren't you playing? And I went, I don't know, I kind of don't really want to play with a bunch of guys. Like, I don't think, I'll get to a point and then I'll have to stop, because they'll all get like, big and strong. And I didn't really see that for me. So she said, oh, come to softball. So I went to softball, and I decided I wanted to get serious about it. So I said to my brother and dad, okay, I'm ready for you guys to actually push me and teach me proper, gameplay. So I remember they said, okay, but you can't complain. Like, we're going to go train, but you have to listen to us. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And we went down to the field, and it was so tough. They made me cry. But yeah, they trained me a lot. And then I was playing softball for quite a while, and then I played for GB when I was 15. That was for the under-19, so I kind of went as a development player to Spain. And then I started playing a bit with this Spanish team. I have an uncle in Valencia, so I would travel a lot and go play for a team over there. And then lockdown happened, and I didn't throw a ball for all of lockdown. I kind of just forgot about all of that. I kind of was just not really doing much. And then I didn't know what everything that happened this year was going to happen. It wasn't really a plan that I was going to play this season. But then at the beginning of the year, I found out about Women's League and Women's GB, and I was suddenly like, okay, well, I need to be involved in all this. So I suddenly started to throw a ball again. I was going hard at training, and I ended up getting so injured all over the place. But I'm really glad that all of this happened, because I don't really know if I would be playing and training as much as I am now if I didn't get that kind of push with all the women's stuff. So I'm playing right now with Mets Mayhem. They're a great team. We have a lot of fun. And a few of us, maybe 4 of us, we train on Wednesdays with the Capitals. And then we also have a women's training. We used to do it Saturday mornings, but now we do it Friday evenings. So that's good. And we've got our last game before the playoffs next Saturday at London.
Yeah.
Finsbury. So, whoever's around, come watch. That will be really, really fun. And we're top of the league. I think first 2 weeks, I didn't play because I had a sprained thumb, but first 2 women's league weeks, we were second. And then third week, we went to the top of the board, and that's where we're at now. So that's exciting. And then in terms of Sunday league, I started with Hearts. It was at the Heart Spring League that Chris came to me and was chatting about, oh, what's your plans for this season? I said I didn't know. I was talking to AA teams and AAA teams to see what to do, because I just wanted gameplay. And he said, no, like come to Hearts MBL and play as the second baseman. And like, I've been seeing you for enough time to know that, you're capable of it. And obviously that was super exciting. I wasn't going to turn that down. And plus my brother was in the team, and I'd never been able to play in a team with him. So I thought that was really, really cool. I always saw him as so much better than me, which he is. He is obviously better than me, but I always saw him as so kind of far off me that we would, never be in the same place. But it was really, really fun to play with him. And he's very supportive of me, and he would push me and make me feel really good about the good things that I did. So yeah, that was really nice. And obviously my dad was at that point involved with the team as well. All 3 of us are not involved with the team anymore, but my brother got a job up north, and yeah. So then I did decide to transfer late in the season. It was maybe 2 weeks ago. And we Hearts was losing by slaughter every weekend, and there was a lot of maybe politics that were complicated, and I just decided the best thing for me was to go somewhere where I could be competitive, even if I wasn't on the starting lineup or anything. It happened. The reason I went to Essex Redbacks was because Richard Chesterton, he was texting pretty much the beginning of the season every Sunday, asking me how it went, what I was able to do, how I felt. He's always been really, really supportive of me and my brother. Even though I was always the sister on the sidelines, he would always get me involved a little bit. And he's really great with us, and he would always text me seeing how it went. And obviously at the very beginning I was super, super excited just to be able to be in the MBL, which I'd been watching for so many years, and I was happy with how I was developing, and all the improvements that I was having. But then it started to get to a point where I was saying to him, oh, this happened this weekend and I'm feeling like this. He's like, oh, that sucks, especially as your first year in it. And And then I got to a point where I was like, I'm considering some sort of transfer. And that was such a stressful decision. And there were so many sit downs I had with my parents about whether it was the right decision or not, because, you know, I didn't want to seem like someone who was giving up. But it was something I had to do. We really weighed out the pros and cons. But yeah, I am happy with the decision. And anyway, it got to a point where he said, why don't you come and to a training session with us and see how you feel with us? And that same week, I also got another text from a different AAA team asking me if I wanted to go play with them. And I had to weigh out the two teams, and I really ended up making the decision mainly because of distance. But yeah, they're a great group of guys. They're nice to me. They're you know, happy with me, and trainings are really great with them. I think I proved myself quite a lot in training, but it is an awkward time to go to a new team because, you know, they're already established with their first players and everything, and they don't really know me, and I'm having to really prove myself. And I feel there's way more pressure now for me in this team than there was with MBL, because that was kind of like, oh, we're inviting you to be our player, whereas this one, it's like, okay, I need to prove to you that I can be. So yeah, that's where everything's at now. And then GB tryouts are tomorrow, which is super exciting. I'm excited for that. Yeah, and that's where everything's at right now.
Awesome. How hard was it for you to settle in then with a new team partway through the season? Did you see that competition and that chance to prove yourself as something that would light a fire under you, or was it more of a welcoming environment?
They were welcoming in terms of me as a person, but I've only played one game with them, and so, you know, they've already got their established teams. They're not just going to suddenly, you know, put me in for a long time. I feel pressure to prove myself. And the first game I played, I was so nervous. I was more nervous than my first day in NBL. Like, sure, I was really nervous with that, but it was more kind of exciting. Whereas this one, the first game I played with them, I was shaking. I did do a hit, which I'm happy about. But, you know, I was at third at one point. They finally put me in the second game. And a ball was coming to me. And I was like, this is such an easy one. I mean, it was like bouncing, and I knew I had to attack it for the court hop, because I knew if not, and I just stood there shaking. Oh, it was awful. I was shaking so much, and my dad kept shouting, like, don't be so nervous, what are you doing? But yeah, I was really nervous. But I in terms of training, they are super welcoming as people, you know. And it's good because it's really competitive, and they have a chance of getting potentially to the playoffs, which wasn't my reasoning for joining them, but just in the league, you know, you don't know whether you're going to win or lose, which because before, I felt the pressure to do things well because I didn't want to, you know, obviously you want to play well, but with this, it's not only that I want to play well, but I know that if I do something wrong, or let's say I don't hit much, it could be the difference between win or lose. So it's that extra pressure that I think is going to make me better. Whereas before it was kind of like another training session. But that's that.
So what are you doing in training then to make you stand out from the others? How's your approach to training?
I'm kind of just trying to look confident. I'm trying to be smooth with the things that I do, and not think so much, which is tough for me. When I think a lot, I tend to do things differently to when I'm not. I tend to be a lot smoother when I'm kind of confident and happy about things. So I'm trying to, and I guess I'm also trying to be serious, because, you know, I really like to socialize. I like to, you know, to talk with people and laugh with people, but I'm really at a point now where I want to be mature and serious about things, and and show that I've got enough experience to play well, rather than just like, oh, I'm new and I need loads of help and I need people to be telling me all this stuff. And I'm also really enjoying the fact that I'm playing with people with experience, because I'm trying to show that I can take criticism, that I can listen to advice, and I can implement that advice into the next, let's say they've said something about the way that I take ground ball, the next ground ball, I'll really emphasize what the advice that I've been given, and really show like, oh, I've listened to you, and here I'm improving. And with pitching, I mean, I'm going to be a catcher, and in off season I'm going to work a lot on that, but because of a sprained thumb I haven't been catching. So as well as infield, I've been working on some pitching, especially because in women's league that's helping a lot, because I think in comparison to a lot of women, I have a strong arm, I can throw pretty hard. So I've been working on pitching a bit, and at training I'm doing pitching, and obviously Richard is a pitcher, so he's been helping me a lot with all these little things and sending me videos and things like that. So I'm really kind of trying to show that I'm listening,
Yeah, definitely. So what is it about playing catcher then? Is that just sort of a position that you identified as like a need or something, or is it just look like the most fun thing?
Well, I've always enjoyed being all over the field. I've always been quite a utility player, but when I first ever did catching, I think I was 18 before I actually properly caught. It was actually at this MLB thing. It was maybe 1 or 2 weeks before the MLB London Series. There was this MLB youth camp thing at Farnham, which I wasn't, I wasn't part of that, but I was there on the weekend that just before it started for watching my brother do something. I think he was doing a GB thing. And there was a little coaches summit thing going on, and I just thought I'd go and sit there because there were some people I knew. So I sat there and I listened, and then I was talking to Zach Grafser, after this coach that used to be here who now works with MLB. And he said to me, oh, why don't you, we did this little catching thing as coaches. They just got us down and was like, you do this and you do this. And I got down, I was doing it, and he asked me to show something. He was like, oh, I need you to show everyone something. So I did it. And then afterwards he said, oh, you're a good catcher. And I was like, I've never caught in my life. And he said, oh, well, you should. So come to this camp that we've got all week. It's every day for the whole day. You should come, and we'll work on catching all week. So I did that. I went to Farnham every day, and I was working on catching with him and Will Linton. And I just realized that it just kind of felt right for me. And I didn't realize how fun it was to see the whole field from there. It was just very new and very exciting. And obviously being told that you're good at something kind of motivates you to do it more. So yeah, that's pretty much how it went. I haven't really had a proper game catching. I've just done a lot of training with it. And once in Spain, I did catch a game. And yeah, that was good. There wasn't much that I actually had to do. Like, no one was stealing, so I didn't really do throwdowns or things like that. But yeah, it just feels good. I love all the other positions, but it just I feel confident behind the plate. So yeah, that's
cool. I'd love to give it a go, but I'm 40-year-olds with the knees of a 70-year-old, so it's pretty much drawing a line through that one. Yeah, I think it's when you hear certain players talk about certain positions. For me, it was early on in the podcast's career, I can call it that, chatting with Will Linton, and at the end of it, I was like looking at catcher gear on eBay, and I was like, I've got to be a catcher. Will, he just sold it. I was just like, it sounds like such a cool position. And for just messing around as a kid, I would normally be the catcher there, because I just like doing the signals and the calling and stuff, even though I didn't know what it all meant. It was just fun. You mentioned as well before about playing with your brother. How what was it a lot of fun, or how did it work out playing? Because like me and my sister we get on quite well, but we used to clash a bit as kids. Do you have like a bit of a rivalry on the field, or do you help push each other and motivate each other?
Yeah, the motivation thing. I mean, me and my brother never really clash. Obviously, when we were little, we fought all the time.
Yeah,
Kid siblings do. But no, we're really great with each other, and he's really, really supportive. And he's someone who doesn't really get frustrated, or at least he doesn't show it when people do things wrong. Like, he's very good at lifting people. I guess since he's confident on the field, particularly in that team where he was kind of the top player, and yeah, I think he felt like his job for me was to support me and just be there as a big brother. And obviously he knew that I saw him as this super cool guy on the field. So yeah, all was really good. I think it was a lot of fun. And I'm sad as though it was really for a short time, because he's got a job like 4 hours away now. But it was really, really fun while it lasted. I enjoyed it a lot.
that's lovely. It seems like you do a lot of baseball now. Just how important is baseball to you?
The thing is, I'm someone who, once I start something, I go all out. I won't just do something for fun. And even though it is fun, I don't just do it as a hobby. I'll really go for it. And I guess I've just been around baseball for my whole life, that I just don't want to let go of it until I have to. And yeah, I guess I'd been around it for so long, and now I play it, and it's just simply so enjoyable. I mean, I had so much fun playing softball. Softball is great, but for me, baseball was always the thing I wanted to do. And I guess now that there's the opportunities that there are for women, I just felt like I had to, and I feel like I have to now, especially as one of the women with the most experience in this country. I feel like it's kind of a duty. And in women's league, it's lovely. I mean, some girls with not too much experience will maybe come and ask me a question, or I'll hear someone going, oh, look how hard she throws, or something like that. And it makes me feel so good. And it makes me feel like I can be kind of a leader in some way. And I can't turn that down. I can't turn down being a leader.
Awesome. Do you remember where you were then when you heard about the women's national team being announced, and what were your feelings when you found out there's something extra to play for?
Yeah, it was actually the beginning of this year. I think it was January. I think it was just when I was moving back to London. I had stayed with my parents through most of lockdown, and I was just moving back to London. I don't know how it came up. I think I saw it on Facebook. And I was like, no, there's no way. So I started looking at that. And then that's when I emailed Amanda asking for more kind of details about it. And I was going through a really tough time at that point. I was super down. I was super unmotivated for things. And suddenly I just got this spark back. And it kind of gave me something to push through again. And it made me start kind of treating myself properly again, and getting excited about something. I definitely was too excited at the beginning. Like, I went a bit crazy, but yeah, it kind of just was something that kick-started me again, and got me being active again. I mean, I've always been pretty active. I don't really like sitting still for very long, but still it gave me kind of a push to start really working on something again. And it helped me with the other parts of my life as well. My grades at school have always been good, and at uni I've always had good grades, but in second year when lockdown happened, kind of your motivation drops. You're not going into classes all over Zoom, so I wasn't really trying that hard. I ended up finishing this year with I think a 2-1, which I know is still good, but like I wasn't really trying very hard, and it kind of kickstarted me to try hard with everything again and really sort myself out. So yeah, it was it came at a really good time for me.
Tell us a bit about the journalism then. Why did you want to become a sports journalist?
Well, journalism in general, I mean, even if I wasn't a sports journalist, I would still want to be a journalist. Just, in any area, I think. I am someone who likes to talk. I love hearing about other people. I love listening to people's stories. I've always really loved to write as well. I still haven't figured out if my end goal would be, broadcast or writing, but journalism is one of those things where you end up working in so many different things and you work your way to a point where you may have not even imagined. In terms of sport, I've always loved sport. I'll watch any sport with my family and enjoy it. Just the competition and the athleticism, the sportsmanship, all of it. I think it's really, really interesting. I actually thought once about being a sports psychologist because I went to this seminar years ago. I think it was either 2016 or 2017, which isn't actually that long ago, but still it feels like long ago. I went to this seminar from this sports psychologist, Brian Kane, and everything he was saying and the way he was motivating everyone, I thought it was so, so interesting. And I went home and I was like, I'm going to do that. And that's what I was thinking. And then, I got to A levels and I really started to think more about it. And then I don't know why I'd never thought of being a journalist. I was looking through careers and doing all these like personality tests and things like that. And I saw journalism. It was just like, boom. I was like, how did I not think about this before? And I went to my parents and I said, sports journalist. Oh, I mean, just journalist. I just said journalist. And they were like, oh my goodness, how did we not think of this before? Of course you're going to be a journalist. And plus, I'm also someone who gets bored of the same thing. So I couldn't imagine myself sitting there and doing the exact same thing every day. Whereas every story is going to be different. And I'll be doing research on completely different things, talking to different people, meeting people. And the amount of contacts you make as a journalist is so exciting. And sports is such a big part of my life, so I thought that made sense. But the reason I didn't do a sports journalism bachelor's is because I didn't want to limit myself. I wanted to kind of have an open mind to what I could go into. I was thinking maybe humanitarian things because of, everything going on in Venezuela. I thought that could, be personal to me.
Yeah.
But then I was working at the MLB London Series and I was there on the field. I was one of the field crew. So I got to kind of water the field and I got to practice putting the tarp. It was so fun. That was one of the best weeks ever. But I was like right there, close to all the players. And I saw the sports journalists come on and start interviewing people and they're talking on camera. And they just looked so cool. And I so imagined myself. I was already about to start university in like 2 months after that. So I was already set on doing general journalism, which was good. I'm glad I did that because it got me to explore the other sides and really realize, sport is what I want to go into for sure. But yeah, I think it was the MLB London Series that really kind of made my mind up.
Yeah. How did you get involved then with the on-field stuff with the MLB London Series?
It was really random, actually. I didn't sign up for it. There was an option to sign up, and I think most people did. But that week that I was doing that catching thing at Farnham, I forgot who it was that came up to me, but someone who was sorting it all out came to me and said, do you want to work at the London Series? And I was like, obviously, yeah. And that's literally how it went. And then he just sent me something I had to fill out, and that was that. And it was the same for my brother, I think. So I think he also just got asked at the last minute, and we ended up working together that week. So we stayed at my cousin's house in London because my parents live in Hampshire, and it was just a long drive every morning. We had to be there at about 6 a.m, something like that, and we'd leave at like midnight. It was long days, but yeah, we stayed at my cousin's house on this inflatable mattress on the floor. And we'd get up at 5 and we'd, go on the tube together to the series, and we'd play catch while we were there. And everyone kind of had their own little friendship groups, and me and him and a couple other guys were like in this little group. And that was a really nice time, a nice bonding session, I guess. He was at uni, so he had come home for the summer, obviously, and that was a nice time because we were already obviously having so much fun being at the field, but we kind of got to do it together as siblings, so that was fun.
That's great. Back to your journalism, if you can touch on something as well. Have you written anything that people can read so far to see examples of your work, or are you saving it all until you've graduated?
So the things that I wrote for university, I don't really want to publish. I just don't think they're good enough. But there are 2 stories I really, really love. My favorite thing that I've ever written is about my parents' migration. My parents are storytellers, particularly my dad. So I'd already heard all the little stories, but never everything all in one go. So I was living here and I Zoomed them. And I said, okay, everyone just grab a glass of wine, or we're going to chat. And I said, tell me the whole entire story from when you kind of decided to move, and your marriage, and my mum getting pregnant, and how it was when they got here, and then having me and my brother. And it was, I think, a 5 or 6 hour call, and then it was nighttime at this point, and then I just sat there and I wrote until God knows what time in the morning. And that was my favorite thing ever to write, because it was super personal and emotional. I got so it's just so beautiful. And but then I've also written something about the whole women's league and women GB and how that started. So I wrote about Doris and the other coaches, and then a little bit about kind of my experience with baseball. So those are my 2 favorites. But actually, right now it's Friday, so I haven't. But I think by the time this everyone listens to this, I will have published my podcast. So I'm starting a podcast, and it's called Woke Up a Boss, and it's about kind of owning who you are. Yeah. Overcoming kind of obstacles to just be. And I'm going to talk to athletes and things like that, and I think it'll be quite interesting. So you can that will be on Instagram. Right now I have a Marianna Casal Media, where I just put up journalism things that I do, but I'm going to switch that account to Woke Up a Boss, and then it will be all kind of that brand, which I'm actually going to do after this. I've already done the intro episode and it's published. I just need to tell people about it. But yeah, so that's that. And then in October, I'll be going back to university for 3rd year, and I'm set on doing a lot more things surrounding sport. And at that point, I will be publishing everything on my website. I have a website, it's just mariannacasal.com, where I put everything that I do. And I still need to kind of update my about page, just do like a bit of about me. And it's good because not only can people kind of follow what I do, but it's also great for employers, because, as well as my CV, I can just say, oh, here's my website, look at everything I've done. So it's my portfolio, which I was planning on building up this summer, but I ended up having a really full-on full-time job. So I haven't really had that much time to do all the things I want to do. And I also may have a bit of things coming up with GB in terms of journalism stuff. Me and Drew are kind of in the talks of doing some social things, some communication things for that. So that could be like an extra little job that I get around sport, which should be nice.
Brilliant. So you said then that your new pod is going to be about overcoming stuff with like athletes. Have you ever had to overcome any difficulties or anything like that to either play or just in life that's made you want to do this podcast?
Yeah, in the intro, I actually explain what particularly made me start. I guess it was, loads of things, particularly in lockdown, of like not treating myself that well, of kind of being insecure about things, that kind of about thinking too much about what others are thinking about me, and insecurities that are silly, maybe body image and things like that, that I guess when you're in lockdown and you're thinking too much, they all kind of start to build up, and I guess pressure, and loads of little things like that. I won't go too much into it because in the podcast I will end up talking a lot more about it. But yeah, just it's mainly about worrying about what other people think. And there's a lot about what's it called, imposter syndrome. I mean, especially when you start going into a sport at kind of a higher level, imposter syndrome, it goes insane. Like you go,
yeah, I can attest to that.
Did I even be here? So yeah, I and then it got to a point where I kind of it was just all a lot. Like obviously in lockdown, I was doing nothing except some university work, and then it was just me and my thoughts. So when suddenly everything started, and it was all so at once, it was the full-time job, and it was and I'm a nanny for a 1 and 4 year old, so it's really full on, and it's about 48 hours a week of just me looking after them, so it's like really intense, and obviously I needed to grow up really quickly. The job, I love it, I love the kids, but it had to teach me so much so quickly, and I had to kind of grow up and be more responsible, and then there was all the training, and there was everything on social media about me, which obviously when you're on social media and people are talking about you, it puts like an extra added level of pressure, and yeah, just so much was going on all of a sudden that I stopped being as confident as I used to be, and I started questioning so many little things, and then it came to a point where I just said, okay, like this is enough, like I need to pull myself together, and I need to own who I am the way I used to when I was younger. I was so out there and confident, and I didn't care what people thought, and I said I need to get back to that because that's when I was happiest. So I started really kind of facing some things, and kind of analyzing things about my life, kind of opening up a bit more to people, and I just realized, maybe I just need to fake it till I make it at the moment, and just get back to that feeling that I used to have about myself. And I want others to think the same. I want you to be able to, strut in front of everyone and just not care, and feel good and feel confident and feel, like a boss. I really like that word. That's why I really want the boss thing to, you just being a boss of everything you do, being dominant. So yeah, I thought it could be a really good way to help other people who I'm sure, particularly after lockdown, are feeling the same.
Yeah, well, I'll be subscribing. I can tell you that. Like a lot of your stuff you said then, I think a lot of people, especially for lockdown, can associate themselves with. It's interesting mentioning about the imposter syndrome. That's something I definitely get a lot of from doing it, especially doing this. Like some of the people I've spoken to, and like the Hall of Famers and stuff. And I used to work in a 5-star hotel, and I very rarely got starstruck. And as soon as I'm meeting all these legends and heroes of British baseball, and I just go to bits, and it takes my ages to settle into the conversation. And then partway through, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm speaking to insert guest name here. And I'll be all like, oh, I hope they don't think I'm a nerd. And then I just go to pieces. And then it's that internal battle of, what are you doing? It's bonkers. Yeah. So I make sure I put a link to your podcast within the show notes too, and I hope your listeners will support Marianna as well, and subscribe also. I think that's pretty much us coming to the end of the show. This has been a brilliant conversation. Loved every minute of it. So thank you for coming on. So let's get down to these last 3 questions. Marianna Casal, we're in the bottom of the 7th with these 3 questions. depending on how actually is, are going to be strikes or hits. I want to see who can get his base loaded and walk him off at the end. So, do you have any hidden talents?
Well, I'm not sure if it's hidden because I have a little bit on my Instagram highlights, but I sing a lot. Definitely not a secret to my neighbors. They definitely hear every. But yeah, I sing.
You mentioned beatboxing as a kid.
No, I didn't actually. It's like I would grab the microphone and be like, "Pooch, pooch, pooch."
Oh, right. I just thought I was going to get a really great soundbite from you if you just, no boots and cats. Question number 2, what are you most afraid of?
Good question. I was actually thinking about this before the podcast. I don't know. I guess maybe breaking a bone and not being able to do everything I do, because I'm doing stuff all the time. I really don't like sitting still for very long. And so I cycle to work and I'm obviously picking up a baby and, I have to do all these things with these kids. I'm trying to take them out and do fun things with them. So I wouldn't be able to work. I wouldn't be able to, ride my bike everywhere. I wouldn't be able to go train. I wouldn't be able to go play, and I would definitely go insane. So yeah, probably that.
That's quite interesting. Do you think that, does that have any effects on your mindset when it goes into approaching a game? Because I've actually fractured my hand playing baseball, and I broke my foot getting out of a boxing ring, which was ridiculous. I stood in a medicine ball, and I know what you mean. Like I don't feel like I ever recovered from breaking my foot. Like my fitness just went to bits. So does that affect your mindset at all?
I'm not sure about in the long term, probably not. But I guess it in a way, it does push me to, when I get back, take care of myself better. When it came to my shoulder, the thing is, I'd gotten so weak in lockdown for a few reasons, but I really lost muscle, a lot.
Yeah.
When I got back to it, I went really hard into it. And obviously gyms then opened and I was doing all this weight training after a year of not doing it. So I really kind of messed up my shoulder, which it's still kind of messed up, but I have enough rock tape and KT tape to kind of keep myself at bay until season's over, and then I'll obviously rest. But yeah, there was that. And then I didn't play for maybe 2 weeks and it had just started. So I was really desperate. I was really, really desperate. And then I sprained my thumb. And I remember when I sprained my thumb, I went home and I just burst out crying to my mum. I was like, Mum, I'm going to get so bad from not playing for a month. And she hugged me and she was like, you're going to be absolutely fine. Like, it's only 4 weeks and you'll get back. And, you know what you're doing. Just imagine you were off for a year and a half and then you got back and you had to work on some things, but you weren't, you were good when you got back and you were even invited to the NBL. Like, just look at it like that. So yeah, I mean, it affects me during, because I'm a really impatient person. So I'm like, oh, I want to get back. But I guess once I get back, I'm more appreciative and grateful. And then, yeah, I guess it does kind of make me think about how to take care of myself better and how to be more careful, which is good because next year is when things are going to get kind of bigger. There's going to be the GB tournament. We're going to have the Euros, and I can also kind of organize myself a bit better to be with one team the whole season next year, and off season to work on the things that I obviously didn't work on last year. But yeah, I don't think in the long term it affects my mindset at all, but it's just tough during, obviously.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier on about it, you trying to become more natural, like, and not try to overthink things. I overthink everything, especially now I'm a parent, but like on the baseball field, I think I let it get in my head too much. I need to become more natural, but I still have that added fear from a former head injury that I had a few years ago that changed my life. Even stuff like catching a fly ball, like I freeze and I panic because of I'm like, what if this misses and hits you in the head? How's it going to affect you? Because I stopped playing ice hockey and doing boxing because of the head injury. And I have that hanging over me quite a lot. And even stuff like something silly, like at training, a former guest through a pitch, and I wasn't quick enough to get out of the way of it, and it hit me on the elbow, like square on the elbow, and I was just like, baseball means that much to me that I don't want to be injured, because it might be, oh, you'll have to miss like 3 weeks, 4 weeks for it to get better. That's half a season, or however long it is. You're going to miss 4 games. So it's not just 4 games; it's 2 games a weekend. You're going to miss 8 games, and I just have that dread of just not being able to play or be around my teammates and stuff. It just freaks me out, and I think trying to get a better and healthier mindset about approaching the game and attacking the game is something I need to work on. Do you have any guilty pleasures?
Probably coffee. I definitely drink too much coffee, but maybe I don't really feel guilty about it. Maybe, but maybe let's stick with coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Right. The last word always goes to the guest. I'm happy with your last 3 questions. You've loaded the bases, knock it out of the park. Marianna Casal, thank you for being a great guest. The floor is yours. Any last words or anyone you want to give thanks to?
No, I think I've definitely talked enough. So yeah, no, I'm happy. Thank you for having me on. This has been really enjoyable.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine, and I'm sure listeners will agree there too. And that's all for me and all for Marianna. And Marianna, I look forward to hearing you on the British Baseball podcast soon with some interviews of your own. Very excited to see what you can bring to the table. And please be sure to check out Marianna's work on her website. It's actually what I came across that made me think I need to have Marianna on here as an extra host. So if you ask Marianna approaching you to come on the show, please don't be shy. She's a great person. She's definitely a better interviewer than I am. So the only way is up now for this show. So take care, and I'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Take care.